Hello and welcome, dear human family, to another video update here on my channel. And it's great to have you here, and I'm looking forward to this one. As the last video, as you saw, I was in a pretty rough state. And you see, that's what happens. It's allowed to happen. And nothing has to be in any way perfect at all times. But it's about the learning lessons that we have along our journey that are absolutely crucially important. And that's what I think makes this channel very special, because I don't pretend to be any guru or any sort of concept that you may have had of spirituality and real spiritual knowledge. I'm actually a real teacher, and as in the Gnostic sense, the Gnostics were people in the past that ran the mystery school traditions all across the world, and in a Gnostic sense, I only teach what I learn. So there's always a learning function and a teaching function. They both complete the circle of learning. So that's what you get here, and let's head right into this video. Alright, so just to remind the viewers with this picture that there is no news here, okay? So whatever you may have been researching until you are watching this video, please leave some time here and some space for some truth to drop. Not on an intellectual, factual level, but on deeper levels. That's what this channel is dedicated to do, and that's what my entire work is dedicated to do. That's why I show this picture. And as I have already said, I cannot emphasize this in clearer terms than the absolute importance of being honest with oneself. It is such a huge component, and it has to be emphasized at each and every single moment of our experience here on Earth, because there is some major psychological operations going on this planet. And I know that because I've been studying the dark occult and Satanism, consciously or unconsciously, for 8 years now. And let me tell you, in all directions, in all fields, especially in spirituality, or anywhere, also in the truth movement, there are psychological operations going on. And yeah, it's about navigating through that and learning what feels right to you, and activating your own inner compass of navigating through the maze of information that you're also confronted with. So this channel is dedicated to give you clear information, the foundational knowledge that I think is the most important knowledge, and that's always unfolding in my research and understanding. But the basis has to be that we have to be honest with ourselves. That's why I did the video last 2 days ago, where I was down and depressed, and just through me sharing that and actually creating some content with it, alleviated that pain in a major way. And honesty is a key in all of this, and not pretending that we are something that we're not. Alright, so when it comes to natural law, okay, and this is a major component of my work here, as you may well know from previous videos, And natural law is also an ordering mechanism of our own mind. Okay, so what do I mean by that? So natural law, as I've said before, is the most hidden of information on the whole planet, because it is the knowledge that generates freedom. And a dark occultist and a control freak doesn't want you to manifest freedom, let me tell you that. So in natural law terms, knowledge is divided into two sections for a clear understanding of the world through this clear lens that natural law offers to us. And that is divided in the minor arcana and the major arcana. Okay? So you've got the microcosmic inner world, which is about the knowledge of the self and the human psyche and how it operates. So that's why I say there are some major psychological operations going on at all times, and the clearer of an understanding that we can have of how our psyche works, then the less manipulable we are, and the less we're going to suffer in any way, shape or form. And I like this division of knowledge in natural law terms because, as I said, it orders things for us and understandings and understanding the world and our existence. I mean, it's a major part of the psyop to tell you that you cannot understand the world. Well, you can. Only a manipulator would tell you that you can't understand it, so he can continue manipulating you. So that's why I share clarity here, okay? Because through an understanding of how the psyche operates, and that's a major part of my work here, we can then extrapolate that knowledge of the microcosmic world, our internal being, our psyche. We can extrapolate that understanding toward the workings of the macrocosmic outer world, which is the knowledge of natural law, universal moral law, and the physical sciences. So, in those terms, natural law is an integrative science. It is the science, natural law principles. Okay, what we've had up to this point in the Western world, for example, is actually a belief system called scientism that is based on the foundation that we're experiencing a materialistic universe, which is not the case. Okay, so this is the real science. Natural law is the real science, and it orders things in our mind towards clarity. And as I've often said, clarity is freedom. And that is what shining the light is all about for me, and holding the light of truth and the flame of truth in one's hand and sharing that with our human family. Because that's also what consciousness is all about. Because I often hear, yes, we're going to solve all the problems in our world by raising our consciousness. Well, that's true. As Albert Einstein said, you cannot solve a problem with the same level of consciousness that created it. So we need to raise above what creates the problems. And consciousness, in that sense, means con, meaning together, and sciere are the root words of the word consciousness. Sciere meaning knowing, So consciousness means to know together, and therefore the flame of truth needs to be shared. Okay, and that knowledge put forward, the clear knowledge and the fundamentals, to all people, because that's what's going to make a difference, the application of pure knowledge. And what is also one of the principles that is important to keep in one's mind is that with great knowledge comes great responsibility. And this is something that I sometimes forget or try and put to a side. These are sort of shadow elements from me that are taking me in, is that I don't take myself too seriously sometimes when I should be. And that's when I get a wake-up call, when I'm not taking myself too seriously, like 2 days ago, and that's where a breakdown happens. But a breakdown is also a breakthrough, because at the very point where we feel stuck, and I'll go into this a little bit later in the video, the point where we feel stuck, the energies condense, and at any point a door also opens. Okay, so when we make the conscious decision to not stay stuck anymore, and we speak our truth and we go into that which is holding us back, in full honesty, then we can transcend that which is a breakdown, which will then lead to a breakthrough. So actually, in this sense, breakdowns are good for our growth, and it's up to us to move through it. And there is great responsibility with great knowledge, and there is no greater knowledge than the knowledge of natural law from my perspective. And if you know anything else that is more important, please write it in the comments section. Okay? Yeah, and it's about finding a balance between the two poles. Okay, in this realm that we occupy, we can see that every day the sun goes up, or when it doesn't come up, we've got day and we've got night. There's two poles, and that's not only experienced in the realm outside of ourselves, but also within our own psyche. Okay, it's about keeping a balance between our shining, our light side of ourselves, and also the dark side of ourselves, which can be called the shadow aspect. And a listener also asked me what exactly I mean by the shadow aspect. Well, that is another video which I'm going to do. It's important to properly define these terms, but just to give a quick view on that, the shadow aspect is an aspect of our psyche that we're oftentimes not consciously aware of, and these are the things that we suppress in our psyche, and that's the reason why we show a mask in front of people. When we meet people, we're not being the true being that we are with all aspects to our personality, but we show a mask to suppress the shadow element of our psyche. And if we were only to be at peace with shadow elements and work on shadow integration work, as it is called, means to open yourself up to looking at shadow elements and integrating them into your being through an understanding and through the energy of love and self-love. To love oneself, although you may be whatever feeling bad about something and actually accepting that and be at peace with that and say, okay, I understand this is an issue with me. This could be jealousy, for example, and go into that feeling of jealousy or whatever is triggering you, and instead of projecting it outward and being triggered by someone else, we keep it inside and we start a communication, we start a dialogue with that aspect of ourselves. Instead of suppressing it, actually start to communicate with it and become one with it. Because in the importance of shadow integration work cannot be underestimated in my view. And I highly recommend viewers that are interested in this to look at the work from Carl Gustav Jung, also Jordan Peterson, because we cannot be fully whole when we don't become whole with our shadow self that is inside all of us, and they just manifest in different ways. One is jealous, and the other one, for example, is not jealous. It manifests in others through compulsive behaviors of other sorts. It can be drinking, it can be smoking weed and smoking cigarettes, or too much sugar, or whatever, in consumption ways. This is also reflections of the shadow self. It's trying to fill a hole that is not yet filled with self-love and integrating those energies. Therefore they have to be filled. And inside the shadow, and when we get into balance with those shadow aspects, we activate more and more our heart-based intelligence, because we are coming more into alignment with our own being, and the shadow integration work leads to an activation of heart-based intelligence and to our creativity. Okay, this has everything to do with emotional intelligence, shadow integration work, which then balances the intellectual intelligence, the male and the female component, thoughts and emotions, then come into balance. That's why shadow integration work is hugely important in order to move forward spiritually and unfold our greater being into this reality. So, why is shadow integration work important? Well, look at the corners of this chessboard. What the fuck's that? That's what I'm asking myself too. It's a major part of my work, And this is the natural law level of chess. Okay? We are players on the chessboard, and it's important to know one's position on the chessboard, and that's what I'm finding out ever clearer in my unfoldment. And what you've got on the sides here and in the corners, who are they? Yes, that's why shadow integration work is necessary. Okay, emotional processing. So again, you're being triggered by something outside of you, and instead of throwing it back and reacting to that, we keep it inside, and take a deep breath, just feel those emotions, and then respond in a responsible manner. And if we don't do that, and do our own internal cleansing work, and I mean the emotional component here, there's also internal cleansing in form of fasting and all that, but emotionally, if we don't do shadow integration work and we don't become one with our greater being and synchronize our ego personality with our heart soul essence, our heart soul expression, then these guys here, duck, 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 outside, the so-called as I would call them, the matrix rulers, those who rule over the artificial construct of the matrix. We become a vehicle of manipulation for these entities, okay? And I myself, as I've said previously, I have had my own experiences with these entities, and they are real in the sense that I have had lots of experiences with them, and they mess with our minds. They're the forces of limitation. They control a limited structure called the matrix, and they want to keep us in a smaller box than they are, and they keep us in a smaller box through us not doing the internal work on ourselves. And if we don't do the internal work on ourselves, we fall into the matrix trap. Okay, and this is the matrix mindset. And this is what has been warned about. This is what the Gnostics, okay, people like the Gnostics who were mystical, holistic researchers. They were combining all the sciences, and they were into the knowledge of natural law, okay, and occultism, and how the psyche works. They studied these fields to great depth, also with the assistance of psychedelic compounds like magic mushrooms or ayahuasca. Okay, and one of the books that really changed my life is, and I've mentioned it before on the show, is the book Not in His Image from John Lamb Lash, where he explained the lost for the first time, and he put a lot of work into this, okay, to write this book. I think he invested 25 years to study the Nag Hammadi findings, dead sea scrolls that were found by the Gnostics, that were codices in a very terrible state, that were found in Nag Hammadi, Egypt in 1945, and he was the first researcher looking into these scriptures without a theological background. So he is a mythologist, John Lamb Lash is, and the book just completely changed my life. And what he focused on in that book was the manipulation technique that we are being tricked with all the time, and this is what I call the matrix mindset, which is victim, in my word, not persecutor but prosecutor, no, victim, perpetrator, rescuer complex. And he, in his book, calls it the victim perpetrator complex. And that's what the Gnostics warned humanity about in the codices that were found in Nag Hammadi in 1945. And how interesting that exactly in the week that the Nag Hammadi scrolls were found, that was exactly the same week where John Lash, the author of the book Not in His Image, was born. And I've hardly come across more important information than that, you see, and that's why I condense all the information that I have studied over the last 10 years to present that to you. And that's why I was in 2 days ago, okay? That's why I did the video, to get out of the matrix mindset, and not stay stuck in there. Because if I stood stuck, that's a picture that would describe what happens when you stay stuck in the victim perpetrator mindset. Okay, that's where the matrix strings together aspects of our past and different details and different experiences from the past that we can't change anymore, and it strings those different thoughts and details together, okay, and creates a thought loop narrative that keeps us stuck in a loop. and doesn't make us progress forward. And this manipulation technique and keeping people stuck spiritually plays exactly into the hands of the entities that are trying to control the human race and to assimilate the human race into an artificial reality, which I call the 5G AI mainframe matrix, which is happening right now. Or they're trying to make that happen. And these entities profit from us being in thought loops and stuck in there. And why is that? Because they feed off our low vibrational emotional energy. Therefore, instead of staying stuck in this matrix mindset, because we're not victim of any circumstance, okay? We are sovereign creator beings if only we choose to be. But if we decide to stay in the victim perpetrator mindset and think we're a victim, well, that's your reality, to be absolutely honest. Then you're stuck in thought loops that don't serve your growth and don't serve the growth of the human race, but serves their growth. The whole matrix control structure and the sort of puppets that they present to us, you know, people like Bill Gates and George Soros and the Rothschilds, they only make tea for the real rulers of this world, and it goes beyond this dimension. And that's what they profit from. They only get, and the whole matrix control structure only gets their power through the power we give to them by being or deciding to stay a victim, and that then reflects itself in staying in the comfort zone and blaming other people for our life or for whatever we experienced. Don't blame other people. They, no matter how it manifested, no matter what it was, they eventually served a purpose of learning in the school of life. And if we stay stuck in blaming other people and staying stuck in the mind of past experiences, then we stay stuck in the thought loop and we can't evolve spiritually. Fundamentally important. And that is the esoteric understanding of a figure that's called Satan. Okay? Not the exoteric understanding of Satan. And, well, if you wanted an exoteric understanding, well, okay, these archons, or who are also called jinn, or the wetiko in other cultures, that would be still an exoteric understanding of Satan, but it's actually our ego consciousness that is connected to the shadow aspects of our psyche, the repressed aspects. The ego only strives for survival, okay? And it just wants to survive, and it doesn't want to have, it's got a life of its own, and it becomes very insecure when the energies of the heart soul essence comes in and synchronizes and heals the ego. That's what the ego is very afraid of. And that is the power play that is happening inside of ourselves at all time. This is not something that's happening outside of ourselves, but inside of ourselves. The battleground is within. within us. Just like the kingdom of God is within us, the battlefield is also within us. And there is energies that are at play here. And it's the heart, soul, essence that can heal everything. That's our greater being. And what I've come to experience in the course of the past 2 days, but it's been going for a little bit longer, is that the one thing we fear the most is nothing outside of ourselves, but actually the greater being within ourselves and the power that comes from it. We're actually most scared of the power of our true being. And an aspect I also wanted to mention here is because it ties in with this, with the energy dynamics of the ego and our heart, soul, essence. And there's much more to talk about here. I'm just giving an introduction here to this topic. What ties in beautifully is also in numerological terms to understand the dynamics of involution and evolution. Okay. If you only knew the magnificence of the 3, 6 and 9, then you would have a key to the universe, is what Nikola Tesla said. The 3, 6 and 9, what's that all about? And you know what it's all about? Actually, everything that you're going to hear from me and my entire work in this lifetime, up to this point, maybe it's going to change, I don't think so, but it's all based on this understanding. 3, 6 and 9. It's the basis of my entire work, and it's been the basis of my entire work since 2 years. That really orders things, okay? And the Trinity, I have often explained, is the key to transcending the entire control system, okay, run by these guys. They don't want you to know about the Trinity and to have the clarity and to accept the truth of the Trinity. Because there are also mechanisms of the mind and of the ego that doesn't want to accept absolute truths and act accordingly. It would rather continue to research all day long and for the rest of eternity to not act according to absolute principles based in truth. And one of those is the Trinity. And only a quick summary to align the male aspect of consciousness, which is the realm of thought, and align that with the female aspect of consciousness of emotions, and let that reflect in the behavior that we produce in the outside world. So this is not something to be perfect in straight away. This is a working dynamic to be tuning one's awareness to at any time, that we think as we feel and as we act. Then we complete the Trinity, and then we transcend the matrix. We create the life of our dreams. We synchronize with that which we are here and destined to do, and the difference we need to make in this game. You have an important part to play in all of this, the same as I do, and I'm here to make you realize and remember it's also about you. These principles are not just for me to apply, they are for you to apply. And let me tell you, there's a reason why the Gnostic material was burned at the Library of Alexandria, and it was burned so we had nothing left of the Gnostics until the Nag Hammadi codices were found again, and we have access to this information again. Hugely important information. And we come back to the 369, okay? So what is that all about? Well, the 3 relates to the Trinity, okay? And as we move up higher, we have the 6 and the 9, okay? And the 6 is symbolic, and we can also see that in the dark occult with the use of 666, okay? And this relates to matter, because they actually believe in Darwinism and social Darwinism. It's one of the tenets of Satanism, okay? The survival of the fittest. They actually believe in a material universe. They actually believe that the universe is a prison. Funnily enough, it's really weird. But coming back to the 6, 6 symbolizes matter, okay? And this would be the triangle that points downward, okay, in a correct alignment with the forces of nature, in alignment with natural law. The 6 would be grounding energy, so that we are grounded in our earthly being and connected with the planet. That is the grounding, where we are being pulled down to the matter, and we accept that within our being. And the inversion of the 6, which is a 180-degree flip, is the 9. It's only these two numbers that have this property. And that is the realm of spirit. And this would be the upward pointing triangle here. And those two are meant to be in balance with each other. So the spirit is the one that makes us connect to the higher realms, okay, and to higher expression. And this can be shown here in this slide, okay? The spectrum of living. And just to point this out here, the matter is the lower to the left. Matter is lower, physical, the reality, what is actual. So in natural law terms, matter, as is seen here, pointing downward, is symbolized for being, for grounding, for being in a state of being, like in meditation, you know, where we ground ourselves by being in the moment. But, and this is very often not expressed in spiritual teachings, next to the level of being is also the level of becoming, and not staying stuck with what is actual, okay, when we're not happy with what we're experiencing and what is happening in our life, but actually to move from a state of being into a state of becoming. And that would be symbolized by the 9, the spirit, evolving our spiritual capacities and and unfolding our heart, soul, essence in our being would be to become greater, to become the best version of ourselves, to be the true you, to stand in our power and to move forward and move forward and move forward until we have transcended this entire structure and changed the entire matrix toward the new paradigm. So that is the spirit, the higher metaphysical, the way and the path, that which we came here to do. We are here for a reason. We all have our life's purpose and our plan and our agenda here, what we need to do, and if we don't do it, we fail ourselves and fail humanity. We can do it. It's our potential. Okay? And if we don't do it, and we stay stuck in the matrix mindset, victim perpetrator bonding, as it's called, then instead of evolution, which is grounding, first is always the basis. We need to be grounded in what is, okay, symbolized by matter and the six, grounded in our being, and from being also getting into the spirit aspect of becoming, from the 6 to the 9. If we stay stuck in the 6 and we don't become the best version of ourselves, well, then look at what happens to the left of you. Everything involutes there, whereas with the 9 coupled with the 6, everything evolves. So to the left we have involution, and to the right we have evolution. So just to explain this in numerological terms, the 6 involutes on itself. Just paint it on your page that you've got right in front of you. When you paint the 6 involutes in on itself, and energy stays stuck. And when energy stays stuck, it falls back on itself. It can't progress. And energy needs to flow again, and that comes with the 9, the spiritual aspect. So with the 9 we move out of the matrix. So the 6 keeps us stuck, and the 9 makes us come out of it. And we need to move toward evolution. That's what the universe supports. Okay? And with those 2 together, isn't that interesting? We're back in law. The 6 and the 9 together make the paragraph. Very important. These are all energy dynamics. Okay. The 6 and the 9. Grounding, being, 6, and taking that being and becoming the best version of ourselves, which is the 9. This is what is natural law. It strives towards anchoring in our being, which is the basis. Okay, I can't be darting off and doing all the time and not getting to any sort of calmness. That has to be the starting point. But that's not it. Just stay for years and just meditate and finding enlightenment. No, No, strongly also pull toward the other aspect in an understanding of natural law dynamics and energetics, is to come from the basis, from that being, and accepting the now and accepting what's going on right now, and then from being grounded we move forward in evolution, we become the best version of ourselves. And that is what the world needs right now. It needs the best version of myself, and it needs the best version of you. And I'm saying all of that to realize that myself again, and not fall into the trap that I don't take myself seriously. Because as we have learned today, with great knowledge comes great responsibility, and we have a responsibility toward our human family. It's time to act. Thank you for tuning in again today. If you like what I'm doing, become a Patreon supporter underneath here. And just to end this, with great knowledge comes great responsibility. So, one thing is watching these videos, and I'm also opening the door for you to move into the best version of yourself. Okay, it's time to shine. It's time to shine, my dear human family. And let's end this craziness that's happening in the outside world. But we can only do that through inside outward. That's the way. So, all the best to you. Speak to you soon. Take care. Bye.